I don't see how anybody can go through centuries of hardship, oppression, and it not seep into our DNA in some way. I think it seeped into our DNA in a multitude of ways. Not only, the hardship and how that has impact on our psyche, but also I think the strength that our ancestors had to have in being able to see like their children being sold off and having to see their sons and their husbands be whipped and all that good stuff. The strength the strength that you have to bounce back from that, the resilience. I think that's why Black women are the most incredible beings on this earth.
We do have a show today, and I'm glad we have this person coming on this show because there are a lot of questions that I've had about, things that my children go through or I myself go through as an adult, being very anxious, having different levels of anxiety. You could meet people who think that they're 100% fine, and maybe they do need to go see someone. I don't know why us, y'all, all of us in the African American community don't like to admit that we do need help. We like to think that, we're strong, we're built for this, we're resilient, these are things, basically if you can't take or put up with the things that you're going through, that we look at it as though you're weak. And I'm saying we because I can admit that I've been one of those people. I've dealt with a lot of things throughout my lifetime. And I think essentially what we're doing is hurting ourselves. We're hurting ourselves because we need to know when we need to ask for help. It's nothing wrong with asking for help. It's nothing wrong with saying, I'm struggling. I'm not able to do this. I'm having a hard time, whether it be with your job, whether it be with your relationship or your spouse or even your children. Sometimes children are struggling, and what we do, be quiet, go sit down, go in your room. So it's like a continuous cycle of just, don't worry about it, you're fine, or I'm fine, we'll get over it, we'll get through it. So I'm very glad that we are going to be having our guest today.
Do you see me, Rachel?
No, I do not.
But you hear me.
I hear you. Hey, Kira. Look at you. You so sensual.
I am so essential. You see me?
So sensual. Girl, you better keep that thing away from your face. Why you still have on those gloves, by the way? Do they only give y'all one pair of gloves?
I was running out of the building and did not take them off. So, sorry.
So, do you notice how many surfaces you touch now that you have to wear gloves?
Yes. And I have scratched my nose too. It's hard.
When I have on gloves, I'm like this.
It's hard not. I'm telling you how hard it is.
You don't have to tell me. I know. You're made more aware of it when you have to wear them to protect yourself and people around you. So you took them off wrong.
I didn't. I took them off inside out.
You're supposed to stick your finger inside and turn it, and with the other finger. It doesn't matter what finger you use.
Dr. Quinn, look. This is not my
Dr. Quinn, Medicine Women. I've actually seen people put hand sanitizer on top of gloves.
Yeah, I have.
I don't know if that's sanitary.
It's like soap. It doesn't do anything.
I mean, if that's the case, you might as well take a shower with them on, since we all running out. I don't know. I was just on here, and I was thanking our sanitation workers.
They still are working.
They are working. I said I remember a time where I used to be in a sanitation worker at a college, and I remember, like, people would look at you funny, like,
what do you mean look at you funny?
Why are you doing this? Huh?
What you mean look at you funny?
They would look at you like, but who else gonna clean up behind you? I'm gonna collect this whole check.
So they looking at you like you black?
Clean up behind y'all nasty asses. No, I was just saying, people look down on people that work in fast food. You know, what you do? Nobody goes to a party and like, I work at a fast food restaurant and I drop the fries and I love my, like, nobody runs out and says that. Nobody does that.
No. Nobody does that.
So right now, you know what I'm saying, like, they're, you know what I'm saying, they working and they making a lot more money probably than I did when I left my job. So
damn.
I just want to applaud everybody who's still essential. How do you feel about still being essential?
Oh my God, you know, today was a determining factor for me.
What happened today?
When I say that because it actually got busy. We actually got busy. We've been slow for the past couple weeks. Mm-hmm. And I think that people have been watching the news. Of course, they always watching the news. They're watching the news and they have seen that, you know, the number of people that's been infected is slowing down or leveling out. So they're coming out. More people are coming out now. And I saw that because we had over 80 appointments today, which is our norm.
Wow. And did people make their appointments?
Yep. Only a few didn't. You know, I can only speak for what I did, who I've helped. Right. Most of my appointments came in, and it was like maybe 4 or 5 that were not appointments came in.
Right.
So yeah, it's picking back up.
That's good, but I don't think that just because it's leveling out that we've hit our peak or we're over that curve.
I don't know. I'm still waiting on the real story. I'm sorry, my hand is in the way.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know what.
I was
just turn your camera off if you don't want to be on here.
I want you to see. I got a titty out.
Nobody's gonna tell us honestly the real story.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna tell us the real story.
Not straight out. No, not straight out. Maybe 10 years from now we'll get the real story.
Maybe.
So we're missing a person.
We are.
Is there any news? Did you get any information?
I did not. I just hopped on because that was my job.
Hop on. You do a lot of hopping on different types.
You know what I'm saying? I do what I do, boo.
Percolate.
You know what I'm saying? But, no, I haven't heard anything. I did try to check in with Black Hand, and I was told get on the app, so I got on the app.
Oh, okay.
Here I am.
Black Hand checked me too. To myself, where you at? I'm essential. That's where I am.
Oh, excuse me. Who face you rubbing that in?
Black Hand. Wow.
So remember you were telling me try something different.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those guys who haven't seen the other episodes, so I've been struggling, right, to apply for unemployment insurance. And so every week they'll come out and say, well, this week was 3.5 million. This week was 3.7 million. And every week it just keeps going up, the number of individuals who were able to successfully apply, right?
Yeah.
So I said I would love to be one of those who were able to successfully apply. So Keita basically said, stop fucking whining and try something different, right? So every day, I've been getting up. I have still been calling a lot, and at some points the phone does ring. At some points it does go to other props. I've gotten excited, but it's not like okay, calm down, just let it happen, right?
So what happened?
Nothing has happened yet, but because people are saying the easiest way is to apply online. And I've gotten prompts that says your social security, you already have a username, change the password. My issue was because I applied, I think in 2011 and 2012 for unemployment insurance originally, I don't know what that email is. And I'm saying this maybe this might help somebody. I don't know what that email is. Originally, I was trying to find the email. Maybe if I find the email, then I'll be able to get in. I just went on to work in Texas. And it's basically updated, right? So work in Texas, if it still shows you to be employed, you're not going to be able to file unemployment. So what I had to do was go through work in Texas and state that I was unemployed. I'm no longer employed. I had to go through this long laundry of lists and questions.
Yeah.
And the website did cut off on me, but I was able to save the information. And I'm thinking, right, because it is overloaded. And I'm thinking, if I go back through it and complete all this information, then go back and log on to file, it will allow me to do that. But only once work in Texas states that I'm no longer employed. It has me as still being listed as employed. So for me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna do it this way because I'm not, it says doing it online is the easiest way. So I'm gonna try to figure out, because I wasn't able to do the email way. So I'm like, maybe if I go through here and then through there, I believe it lets you list if you are currently employed. So I'm gonna go back through, and I'm gonna file again. I'm gonna complete everything on there, and then I'm gonna file for it again.
Okay.
And I'm hopeful. Basically, I'm hopeful. I'm not as stressed. I don't have as much anxiety as I did. And then I know still, just because you file, you still have to be approved.
Right. Yeah, you still got that portion to go through.
I'm like, hey, I haven't filed, but filing does not, people need to know, filing does not automatically guarantee that they will approve you. So you go through this whole process, they give you a confirmation at some point. You do have to wait to see if you're approved, because some people say they go through this, they fill it all out online and they're still denied. And then there's something that they're doing wrong. So I'm gonna go through and do everything that I can, and we're gonna see. But I'm more hopeful than I was in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I was stressing, but
yeah, because Rachel was fucking snapping at everybody.
Everybody.
I was just calling her to check on her.
She was calling me. She was texting me. She was inviting me places, and I was like, I haven't filed unemployment. Once I file, then I want to go somewhere. So then you can call me. So I'm not gonna call everybody and be like, I'm sorry I didn't answer your text or your call.
You're like, let my status change first, and then
exactly. Let me get approved, okay? Because it's still a point that they could deny you. You know, filing doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're in the door. It doesn't guarantee that, you know, okay, rent is halfway covered. You know what I'm saying? But I was snapping on people. I was becoming I was isolating myself. I was becoming withdrawn. And that's not typically my personality. I'm very outgoing. I love to you know, be around people, make others, you know, laugh or whatever. But yeah, I was becoming a person that I wasn't happy to be around. So,
and I think that, you know, even though your status has not changed, meaning that you're still not getting your benefits, you still haven't even applied, I think that this was your outlet right here just to get the shit out.
And honestly, I didn't want to get on here. I didn't want to. They were like, you know, there are other people out there dealing with this.
And everybody.
I was like, look, no polish. But I didn't want to get on here. I didn't want to say, you know, when I come on here, when we first started this, it was an outlet for us to have a conversation and invite others into our conversation. And since we've been doing this, you know, I feel like this has more so helped me, you know, than I'm sure it's helped other people, but it's also been an outlet for me to release some things that I would typically just fucking hold in. And so since I have been on here, I want to say, since we've been recording, how long? For like a week? A little over a week?
Yeah. Yeah.
I noticed that it has changed some things. It's helped me.
Sorry about that.
So yeah. I was telling them I had to quarantine my daughter because she threw up yesterday.
What would she eat? She ate something that made her stomach.
She didn't eat anything.
So where'd that come from?
I don't know. She just threw up. And I said, we only go to get
That sounds like anxiety for her too. She missed her friends.
She does suffer through anxiety, but she's not the type of person that's going to tell me about it. She's the type of person that wants to make sure that everybody around her is good. And if everybody around her is good, outwardly she's fine. But that concerns me for her.
I'm about to move around, Pinkies. I know y'all watching us, but I got some essential shit that just come over some text messages.
I was like, did somebody just knock on your door? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I had to turn Bluetooth off.
What happened? Somebody knocked on your door?
No, somebody sent me a text message saying that something's wrong with one of my appointments.
Why? Because they showed up?
No, I gotta go find out what the hell. All right, that was me being essential.
That's it? Or you gotta go back?
I got one more. I got one more.
Leave her alone, people. She's eating. They want you to be essential, but they don't want you to eat. I want to know how everybody is doing. I don't, because we're currently recording remotely. I don't know how to read our comments. I would love to read our comments. Comments that, you know, you guys that are watching have, or if you're having the same types of stresses as I am, I want to hear about it. I want to know that I'm not the only person in the world that has these types of stresses currently. I want to thank you guys for logging on. I haven't even really been on social media. I'm not the type of person who has to be on social media every day. Before I got on social media to start doing the show again, I want to say I had been off of social media for 3 to 5 years. I'm the type of person that likes to be present and current with what's going on around me. You know, my children are current, they're present. You know, work is present, it's essential. I would see so many of my coworkers get lost in their phones on social media, whether it be text messages. I can do text messages as well. Whether it be Instagram, Facebook. I don't even know how Twitter works. So I don't want to say Twitter because I don't see how people get caught up. If somebody understands Twitter, please let me know because I have no idea how Twitter works. I just want y'all to know.
And you don't even want to take the time to figure it out, do you?
No, even with being non-essential, I don't want to find out how. And Twitter is probably easy as hell, but I don't want to know.
Oh, I got a pretty face. Look at my cheek.
Oh, okay. Did you have to do that?
Sorry. I was just, doing me. Somebody just told me I look like Cleo from Set It Off. I was like, fuck
I mean,
oh.
if you're Cleo, who the hell am I? Oh, you know what? I'm probably Cleo girlfriend. With the short curly hair.
That's right. It was blonde too.
Okay. How have the girls been adjusting to doing their schoolwork at home?
They seem to be getting it done faster. Well, the little one,
Yeah,
she's just slow by nature. That's just her. Everything she does is going to be slow. And that's been our problem. But the other one is pretty good. She gets it done. I had her do a book report on a book that she did not want to read. A book that I've been telling her to read. I don't like that book. I want to read this book. And she's read that book like 18 times, but she don't want to read this one book. And so she finally read the whole book, and her report started off like, I hate this book. It's like, I hate this. I mean,
she was being honest.
It's boring. And it was a pretty good story, though. The book is about the two cousins, girl cousins. One attends this ballet school, and the ballet teacher is real famous. And so the little girl who goes to the school is all, I'm Miss Prissy, I'm this, I'm that, I do this, I'm better than you, And so, of course, her cousin didn't take too kindly to her attitude.
Yeah.
And so she had her bring something that she had that was really valuable, which she had stole from the teacher. So her cousin persuaded her to steal them and bring them to us to prove to us that they were what they were.
Yeah.
And she did, and a dog ate it. A dog ate the ballet shoes.
Oh my God.
And so, and okay, that's just in the book, but it's a kid's book, and to me that's a pretty good story.
Okay.
But my daughter hated that book. She hated to read that book, but she read it.
My oldest daughter, displays to me that she loves to read, and I get her books, and she even has a favorite author, and she wants all of these authors' books. Yeah. So I say, once you read this book and, do this and that, then I will buy you another book. So basically that's like a treat in our household. It's like, oh, Mom, they have this story. I have these stories, but I don't have this story. And that's the last story. And I'm like, well, you have to do this and this and this. So I think she's doing well with the online learning. I didn't want to, so the district was sending out emails and they were saying, do you have the equipment that you need for online learning? I don't want to be responsible for this tablet that they're giving out. So I said, I didn't respond to the emails at all, honestly. I didn't. My girls have tablets, so they'll do their work on their tablet. Well, baby girl's not here. She's with her father. So I'm telling the people of the district, I'm not going to be responsible for something that you send to the other side of town.
I got to go essential again. See? I am so fucking essential.
You should be so grateful that you're essential. Or you should be hating everybody that's not essential. I don't know. I want to know how people are really feeling about this online learning that they want everybody to do, all of these kids to do. I didn't go to school to be a teacher. Originally, when kids went on a extended school spring break, my daughters originally went to work with me. At the time, I was still working, and I was like, I can't work at work and be a teacher. That's kind of not what I went to school for. That's not what I did. I don't have any expertise on these two different grade levels and the anxiety that learning online would bring, because if they don't know, they're going to come to me with some type of stress and anxiety, and I'm not going to know how to help them. So then I'm going to have a level of stress and anxiety, which stresses everybody out. So once I became non-essential, I was going to the school twice a day to get the meals, the breakfast and the lunch, right? And so I was kind of thinking, well, you have your own tablet. My daughter's teachers did reach out to me. One teacher I could not understand. I'm not lying, you guys. I could not understand this woman to save my life. And it was so hard because how am I going to explain to my daughter that her teacher called and she now needs her to do this work? Well, my oldest daughter did eventually get online. She did the work. She was like, okay, I'm caught up. I don't have anything else. I'm doing good. It shows you your grade once you completed the task, which is awesome. But the other daughter is on the other side of town. So I'm like, I'm not sending a tablet to the other side of town to be responsible for. I said, am I going to be responsible for this device? Yes, you're going to be responsible for this device. Well, guess what? She's not going to do it. She's not going to do it. If like, I feel like this, if you're going to fail her, like everybody in the world is going through this. So this shouldn't be taken away from our girls just because they don't have this opportunity to learn. So I felt like that was unfair. Hi. We have a guest, y'all. I bet y'all like, oh, thank God. They wasn't talking about nothing. Shut up.
Get these bitches off it.
No. Exactly. We got a doctor, y'all.
Doctor's in the house.
Gonna help
Finally,
us.
we got a real doctor up in here.
Exactly. We be self-diagnosing.
Exactly.
So we got a real doctor that's gonna help us.
Hi, Dr. Boone. How are you?
I'm good. I think I'm having technical difficulties. Can y'all hear me?
Because now we can hear you, but we cannot see your beautiful face anymore.
Okay, there we go. I was trying to.
Hey, there you go.
All right. Hey, y'all.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Now I have to ask, have you seen some of our previous shows? Because this can't go left.
I've noticed.
Real fast.
Okay, so I'm glad you agreed to do this because Did you self-diagnose us when you were watching? You was like, yeah, she got this and she's definitely BP. Bear with us because, we're a little different.
Dr. Boone, can you please let our pinkies know who you are and what you do?
Yes, I can. I am Dr. Jasmine Boone. I'm a psychotherapist. So I work with everybody ranging from relationships, whether it's marriage or just a typical relationship. I deal with a lot of singlehood issues, people who are single and transitioning into or out of a relationship. I also deal with a great deal of trauma. So I do a little bit of everything, but I would say relationships and trauma are the things that I'm most passionate about.
And what are the age range on your clients?
Yeah, so I deal with adults. Every now and again, you can give me a really mature teen, mentally mature teen. But even then, I'm talking about maybe 17 years old, something like that. Okay. But I would say the great majority of my clientele are adults. I can't deal with the itty bitties.
Okay, well that's that question.
Next question. Do you take insurance?
I do not take insurance.
Nobody takes insurance.
So what's the
nobody
thing? What's the thing about taking insurance or not taking insurance? What's the difference?
They pay late.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's it.
They do not know how to pay.
Cash or card, paper or plastic. Okay.
Insurance can be a headache as far as the provider is concerned. Sometimes it can be a headache because they pay late or they don't want to pay as much as you are asking. So it's a headache. I always encourage my clients to get the receipts from the sessions and then, file that with their insurance. And some of their insurance will either pay a portion of it or all of it or none at all. But it's at least worth a try.
Right.
Okay.
I get it. So
Yes.
now you say you deal with trauma.
Yeah.
And I saw an article where they were saying that the doctors, the people who are in the medical field right now that's going through this and trying to care for those who have been diagnosed with the coronavirus, they're going to be diagnosed as PTSD.
Yeah.
Do you believe that? And where would you come in at on that? Like, would you be a part of that, or how does that work with you?
Yeah. It's interesting that the doctors will be diagnosed with PTSD. Is that what you're saying? Is that what the article was reading? Okay,
yes.
that's interesting. I definitely know that they would be dealing with a lot of what I call secondary trauma. And that is because their patients are going through so many traumatic things. They kind of take that on as well on a secondary level. So that is what I would be addressing with the physicians if they were to come in and need to talk about that. Also, just a lot of compassion fatigue, just kind of being exhausted that you're losing losing patients, or you're seeing your patients struggle. Like, all of that hits really hard, not only for physicians. I know a lot of therapists deal with that as well. When people come in and they're hurting and they're telling you what they've been through, it's like, it can drain the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So another question, and this is on a different topic. I love Dr. Joy DeGruy.
Okay.
She's got a master's in psychology, social science. So she's a doctor herself, and she's created, well, not really created, but she's done so much research on post-traumatic, what she calls post-traumatic slave disorder. So it's another form of PTSD. So her book is about us Black people, enslaved Africans, being diagnosed with this, even to this day, of having PTSD because of what our ancestors went through when they were enslaved. And she said that through all those years, which is hundreds of years, 400 years of going through this without any type of healing, and that, she has related to the post-traumatic, I forgot what they call it now, where, the military people go through now, or are diagnosed with now. I can't remember the acronym. Yeah, yes, pretty much the same thing, but the S is different. So have you heard that, or do you believe that?
I've heard it. I believe it. Yes. I don't see how anybody can go through centuries of hardship, oppression, and it not seep into our DNA in some way. And I think it's seeped into our DNA. I'm happy you asked this question, because I never even thought about this piece that I'm about to mention. I think it's seeped into our DNA in a multitude of ways. Not only, the hardship and how that has impact on our psyche, but also I think the strength that our ancestors had to have in being able to see, like, their children being sold off, and having to see their sons and their husbands be whipped and all that good stuff. The strength
and raped.
and raped. the strength that you have to bounce back from that, the resilience. I think that I think that's why Black women are the most incredible beings on this earth.
Yeah.
I think that we are superheroes without capes.
Yes.
And I also think that's why African American premature babies, specifically baby girls, have such a high survival rate. Because I think it's that strength that has made its way through our DNA that is carrying over and pulling our babies through. So yeah, I believe
that's real deep.
Yeah, I believe it 100%. I just don't see that any group of people can go through what we've gone through and not, one, reap the benefits, but also see the bad portion of it too.
Right.
So yeah, I agree.
So as a child, did you have any struggles that made you want to become a therapist? Like, what made you want to become a therapist? Did you have struggles as a child? Were you around a lot of people that had struggles and you questioned? What made you want to be a therapist?
Yeah, honestly, and maybe I'm answering this in comparison to the struggles I hear from day to day, I would have to say, no, I didn't have any major struggles. I grew up in lower middle class family. Both of my parents were in the picture. Nothing major happened. I will say that I feel like I got into therapy on a whim. And here's how. I always thought that I went, just like any other kid, I want to be a teacher, then I want to be an attorney, then I want to,
Right.
Yeah.
But I know in middle school, a friend of mine who she confided in me and she told me that she was molested. And I didn't know what molested was at the time. I just know she said, her uncle's penis went into her, right? And, I would hear those type of stories a lot. And I would come home and I would tell my mom, like, oh, this friend went through this. Can she stay with us? Oh, this friend went through this. Can she stay with us?
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like,
you was trying to save everybody.
And my mom said, what do you want to do for a living? And I don't know what I want to do at that time. And she was like, you need to go into psychology.
Right.
And I said, why? She was like, because it's not by chance that these people are opening up to you about these deep, dark, sacred things. And, you're helping them through it. And so I was just kind of like, all right. And so literally that's how it came about.
The seed was planted.
Yeah, because so many people, and to this day, like I can sit on a bus, and I'm just throwing that out there, and somebody will open up. Now, especially when you tell them you're a therapist, then it's like, right.
That was like, oh, this is free, so let me just ask you one question.
My man just cheated, right? And I'm like,
right. So what should I do?
I am not on the clock, ma'am. But yeah, I've always been in love with people's story. There's not one person on this earth who's walking around and doesn't have a story. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I've always been infatuated with stories. Since a little bitty girl, I would ask, like, I remember my mom had a friend she didn't have her fingers. And I just straight up, I was like, so what happened to your fingers?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she was like, nobody's ever asked. They just look. They just look at me. And they never asked. So she sat down for like an hour and just told me what happened to her fingers. And I was there. 5 years old, I was there. And so yeah, I think it's always been in me, and I fought it as long as I could because I wanted to make some money and be an attorney or be this or be that.
Right.
And I finally gave up the fight and did what I was called to do.
Okay, so why do you believe as we as Black people choose to hurt or be in pain instead of go to a therapist or go seek therapy?
Oh Lord, I think there's such a stigma on therapy in our community. It's such a stigma. I think it's a white people thing. We don't.
A rich people thing.
Rich people thing. I think they feel like we feel like ain't nothing wrong with me. Like it's almost an immediate defensiveness. Like I gotta be crazy if I'm going to therapy. You know what I mean? And then we also have the spiritual side where Jesus gonna fix it. And nothing my God can't fix. And so I always tell people who like, oh no, I go to church. God is my therapist. And I'm like, that's beautiful. But if you broke your damn arm, would you go to church or would you go to a doctor?
They're going to go to church first, and then they pastor going to advise them. Jesus told me to tell you to go to therapy, okay? Take your ass to the hospital, okay? I can't fix it.
You know what I mean? Like, if God forbid you get shot, are you going to go to church or are you going to go to the doctor? You know what I mean? So it's no different. Like, we have broken parts of us that, you know, a physician can't fix. And I always say, you know, God doesn't only give healing in the form of a miracle. Boom, you heal. Boom, that's done. Sometimes he uses vessels in the form of therapists to sit you in front of and say, be healed. You know what I mean? And so I think just how we view therapy, that you got to be crazy to be there. I know so many of my younger Black clients, young adult Black clients who are in therapy, their parents immediately like, go ahead and tell them how I did you wrong. Like it's immediately in a reflection like, oh, well then I must have did something wrong if you in therapy. Maybe I'm just trying to figure out how I lost my job and why I feel that way. Why are you looking like that?
Why would people assume that they're the reason that somebody else is going to therapy?
Because something.
It sounds like guilt.
It's guilt. Something has to be wrong with you for you to be going to therapy. And maybe it's because I did something to you when you were a child, and that's why you're going.
Yep.
I mean, it happened. And it's not just my Black clients, my minority clients, period.
Yeah.
Even some of my Caucasian clients, they will be like, oh, my mom's so mad that I'm going to therapy. They think that I'm going to be talking about them the whole time.
Well, maybe they should tell their parents that they're going to therapy. That's one thing. Keep it to yourself.
Right.
Like, this is for me. This is not about you, Mom.
Right. So will behavioral health turn into mental health, or is behavioral health its own entity?
No, it's one and the same. The way you think manifests itself in how you behave and all that good stuff. You know, it's a lot of my mind when I think about behavioral health goes into the children, you know, the acting out and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's all one and the same. So the behavior is the symptom, right? So if I have a cold and I start coughing, you're like, oh, you may have a cold, right? Mm-hmm. So the behavior is just a symptom of the mental. Mm-hmm. What you're experiencing, why you're acting out, why you're doing this, why are you addicted to that? You know what I mean? That type of thing. So it's all melded together.
Because I have a daughter that struggles with behavioral health. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to figure out, is this going to later turn into mental health? And I asked somebody that she was seeing when she was 4. She started acting out very, very early. And then she was saying, well, it's a girl in my head and she making me do bad stuff. And at first I was dismissing her. And I said, no, you need to be responsible for you and your own actions. But Keita introduced me to an adult who suffers with mental health issues and disabilities. And she told me, as an adult, she said, I wish my parents would have believed me. So if you want to do one thing to help your daughter, you need to believe her. You don't need to dismiss her reality and say it's not your reality. If she believes someone is making her do something, then you need to believe that someone else is making her do something, because she's going to start to isolate herself and feel alone.
Oh, yeah, definitely hear her. Definitely reach out. How old is she?
She is now 5.
5, okay. So the first question I would ask her is, what does the girl sound like? Right? Because if the girl sounds like her voice, right?
Nope.
Or if
Nope, she doesn't.
Doesn't? Okay.
She says she's older than her, and she
Mhm.
sounds like her big sister.
Her big
So she said
sister.
the girl is older than her. She has a name for her, and she was like, and I was like, well, how old is the girl? And she was like, she 9, and this was last year. And I was like, well, what she sound like? She sound like such and such. And I'm like, well, then that's your sister. And she's like, no, mom. And I'm like, you know what? Whatever. She not real. It don't exist. But after speaking with her, you know, I don't want my child to suffer in silence. If she's suffering, then we gonna suffer together. I'm your mom, and I want your reality to be my reality. Even if nobody else in this world believes us, I want to believe you. And if this is your reality, you know, then, you know, I want to be part of that. So I just tell her, you know, well, we all got to sit down and talk then, because, you know, anybody can tell you anything, but you don't have to do what they say. And she said, yes, I do, mommy, because she's older than me.
Yeah, I think she should speak to somebody. 5 is really young to be hearing voices, but at that age, they have a very hard time deciphering if it's their thoughts that they're hearing. So understand, like, when we have a thought like, ooh, I need to go to the grocery store, we understand that that's just a thought, right? A lot of times at that age, they have a hard time understanding, like, that is just a thought of mine versus that is an outside entity telling me to do something.
Right.
So it could be something as simple as that. Not saying that she's not hearing an external voice in her mind, but 5 is really young for that. So I would have her kind of have a consult or a session with a child psychologist, with a therapist to kind of.
She was going to therapy.
Okay.
She was going to see someone. They did put her on a number of medications because she was acting out at school. She was having a very, very hard time at school. And I was like, well, why are you acting this way at school, but you don't act this way at home? Where is the girl when you're at home? And she said, she's sleeping. And I said, okay. And then I interpreted that as, well, it's not as much noise at home as
Rachel,
it is
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I got to get my essential ass back to work.
Okay.
Dr. Boone, it was good speaking to you. I wish I could stay on longer, but I gotta go.
Pleasure.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, and I hope to have you back. Bye, Rachel.
Bye. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Yeah. So she was. I went to go visit her at school one day because I wanted to see. It was before a doctor's appointment. I wanted to see if she really does snap into something else. And we literally walked in together. Okay. It's not like she didn't know that I was there. And it was like a snap of a finger, like a light switch. My child turned into literally a terror. She was knocking things off the table. She was writing on a chalkboard. She was not listening at all. And at some point, she would even run out of the class. And I'm like,
And has she been in the same class this whole time?
This was last year, so her classroom did change, but I noticed that she also picked up behaviors of other kids as well.
Okay, has her behavior changed in a different class now that she's in a different class?
She's in kindergarten, so her behavior has changed, but she will have her moments. And then her teachers have changed constantly as well. So it's like it's never the same thing. She likes the same thing, you know. She's like, we come home, you know, they eat dinner, they take a bath, then they know they have maybe 30 minutes or an hour of TV time, then they can read a book, and then they go to bed. That's the routine, because she likes routine. I have an easier time when there's routine there. I don't know, because her teachers have changed so much that the routine is not there.
Yeah, I'm also wondering if it's the classroom environment. It can be any number of things. But she has spoken, or she is speaking to a therapist on it. And did they provide feedback for you that made sense?
The first therapist that she saw, I basically wanted him to give me a diagnosis. So tell me the name of what I'm dealing with. And he said, she's 4. I can't give you a name because she displays a number of behaviors. And I was like, that's not really helping me though. But he said she would have periods where she would have nightmares, or she will wake up out of her sleep, and just different things. I'm like, this is not like my child. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So when they did put her on different medications, the different medications seemed to work, but it seemed like the day, if it was sunny outside, if it was rainy outside, if it was windy, it just depends on how the day was. Her behavior would just sometimes still change. She was seeing a therapist like at least twice a month, because I couldn't afford for her to see it more than that.
Yeah.
But it seemed like she looked forward to it. She was like, what doctor is this? Is this the doctor with the toys, or is this the doctor? And I said, this is the doctor where you go back by yourself, and I said, well, do you want me to stay in there with you? And she said, no, I want to talk to her. I want to get to know her.
All right.
And I want to build a relationship with her. So I was like, perfect. I can sit out here. I can just, for 30 minutes to an hour. So
really
it was good. But again, it was cutting into my work time. It just didn't, I don't know. And I really want her to go back, because I felt like it was doing her some good. She did create some things that would help her. She said, even if you show her these things, even if you create these things, she had a box, and it was like, well, let's go get your box, since you feel like you're having anxiety. Let's go find something to do. Let's pull something out of your box. And I said, I don't know if the school is going to go for this. And it was like, if they want her to be at a controlled level, they will do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I know it's hard, but if you can somehow get that back into your regimen, it sounds like it was effective. And you'll probably get more answers with time, because I know the therapist will probably have to get to learn her and all that good stuff to really give you some good feedback. So
what is your advice when someone, because it's working for my household, but her father and I are not together. He believes it's absolutely nothing wrong with his daughter. He doesn't feel like she needs to go to therapy. He doesn't feel like she needs to be on medication. There is a complete divide. And she's been over there with him. And it's like, now he's calling me and he's anxious and he's antsy. Well, you need to talk to her. And she's not listening to me. And I said, well, you're just experiencing what I always experience with her. So you need to find a way, for it to work with you. And I said, has she talked to you about anything? Has she said any? He's like, yeah, she told me about the voices, but no, that's not an excuse, and this and that. And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know what you want me to do, because I want there to be a clear, I want us to parent the same way. Yeah. I want to be able, when you call me, to have your back, but you don't believe anything that I'm doing over here. So I can't, when you call me and you're stressed out and she's screaming in the background, like you didn't listen to me. And I said, I'm glad that you're experiencing everything that I experience over here. But in that, my child is hurting. So what do you say to, the divide in households? Like,
that one is really, really tough. I would ask you, if you find that you two aren't able to parent in the same way, then what? Because maybe pushing for that desire is a wasted energy. So what do we do then? He's not going to agree to therapy. He's not feeling it. He feels like probably one of those parents, like, I'm doing something wrong if my child has to go to therapy. So then what? What do you do?
I don't even know.
Sometimes
it's all about her. I think he would like to turn it around and make it about he and I, but it's all about her. Ultimately, she's going to be the one who's affected by the decisions that we make today. So if we're not on the same page, if we cannot communicate properly, she feels that anxiety. She feels that anxiousness. A lot of times when I'm stressed from work, I like to at least get my head right, because I know there's an energy about me that I'm going to now feed my children without saying a word. When I walk into the daycare, I'm like, come on, let's go. And they're like, what's wrong, mommy? Nothing is wrong. I know that's an energy that they can feel. So I like to say, hey, they're like, how was your day, mommy? Did you have a good day? I'm like, I'm not at work right now, so I don't want to talk about it. So how was your day? I like to flip it because I don't want them to have that energy. But now it's like he's bringing a type of stress over the phone. And he was like, you need to talk to her. And I said, what do you want me to say? I'm glad that he's experiencing that energy that I experience all the time. And I said, sometimes you just need to sit down, get to her level, because I've done that at her school. I've sat on the ground and I've given her a really big hug, and I'm like, what is going on? And she's like, hey, mommy, I love you so much. And I'm like, I love you too, babe, but what is going on? She's like,
what is going on?
I don't know. I felt like I needed to come to her level, because if I'm standing over her, I feel like she would have some type of stress. Like, oh, my mommy's here, now I'm in trouble. So I'm like, what happened? We need to, we're at school, remember, we need to learn. And she's very, very bright. She's very, very smart. And so I said, well, no, we need to focus. We need to get it together. Because remember, you're a leader. You're not a follower. What are you doing? You have to show these other kids how to do this, because I know that already. It's almost like she's bored. I know that already. And I'm like, I know, but you need to help other people.
Right. Yeah, she may just be dealing with anxiety. A lot of times it'll manifest in a lot of the, in younger kids in the way that you're expressing to me now. But to go back to the piece about the co-parenting, if you come to a place of acceptance that, maybe how he parents there is not going to be how I parent here, but while I'm parenting here, my child is going to therapy because she's with me right now. And so that is one of the things we do. Right. And allow that to bring you peace. I think a lot of the disruption in peace is you trying to control something that you will not have control over. Because if he doesn't want to see things your way, and you're like, no, but see it my way, but see it my way, but see it my way, that disrupts your peace. So, okay, I get it. You don't feel therapy. I hear you. So while she's at your house, she won't be going to therapy sessions. But when she's at mine, she will. Just food for thought.
And that's what I do. But I am kind of bossy when it comes to parenting, especially with that one, because I don't have the type of support that I have with my oldest child. Yeah. It's a different level of communication. And then he even likes to bring that up. Well, you don't do that with such and such. And I'm like, we're not talking about such and such. We're talking about you and I and our beautiful daughter. And we need her to, be in a stable place as far as us. I don't want her to ever see us fussing and arguing and fighting, and her to even bring up, well, you don't do that with such and such.
Yeah. Boundaries. It sounds like boundaries with him is going to be essential, like things that are okay with you and things that are not okay with you. And like, if he gets into a place where he's like, well, you don't do this with such and such, and you've expressed to him, like, I'm not okay with you bringing that up, that comparison up. The next time he does it, you don't say it, you show your boundary. Okay, well, I have to go. I'll give you a call back. That type of thing. Like, because I'm not going to keep giving my energy into something that I told you is disrupting my boundary. Right. So it's kind of almost teaching somebody how to treat you, what you're okay with, what you're not okay with. Yeah.
I didn't want to be on that forever. I've just always, when I've had therapists or anybody in that type of field that we talk with, I always bring her up because I'm trying to get help. Because I want to understand. Yeah. So I want to ask you about a book that you love. It's A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. What was it about this book that spoke to you? Why is it your favorite book?
It is an amazing book. I think I can't remember who suggested it, but it was years ago, and I initially was not. It was a little too abstract, philosophical for me. So I put it down and did not touch it for years. And then I was like, I guess looking for something to read. And for some reason, it just was like it was in a whole different language for me.
Wow.
And it really simplifies life in general. Like, everything comes down to love or fear. That is the premise of the book, right? So when you are going through that man's phone and, you know, asking him all those questions, it is not because of him. It is because of a fear that is driving you. Whether it's that fear of abandonment, you know, if he's talking to this woman, he gonna leave me. Whether it's a fear of not being enough, well, he must be talking to this woman because I'm not enough, right? Mm-hmm. But it is a fear that is driving you. So once we can identify our fears, and then identify where that fear comes from. So I'm going through this man's phone. I've identified that the fear here is that if he's entertaining other women, he'll leave me. Where did that come from? I remember when my dad walked away when I was 4. Or I remember when my mom passed away. Mm-hmm. And then some people says, well, that's not abandonment. She didn't choose to leave you. Right. The heart doesn't know the why. The heart just knows the feeling of it.
Right.
And so it is a really, really amazing book that helps you just kind of make very clear, like, all the fears that are running this world, and how love, not romantic love, like, it's just saying love is one thing, you know what I mean? And it is the opposing thing to fear. And so it doesn't become an issue of, let me go through his phone so I can control what I can't control. Because if he wants to slide away, he's going to slide away.
Exactly.
Right? It is, let me love and trust that if something happens that I am undeserving of, I will love myself and I will remove myself. Right. It doesn't mean you're going to be a doormat and have to deal with it. It's going to mean, like, I don't deserve that. I'm not going to live in a situation that I am undeserving of. Mm-hmm. And so I will remove myself. Mm-hmm. Period. It's just one of those books, no matter how many times I read it, I get a new gem every time. It's hard to wrap your mind around because it has spiritual lacings in it. But if you are more of an orthodox, kind of traditional Christian, it will turn you away, because that's what it did to me at first. And so now that I see it in a different way and I understand that she is a believer, it's just an amazing book. I can't say enough about it. It's an amazing book. She actually ran for president. She had to drop.
Oh, really?
It. Yeah.
When was this?
This pre election. Yeah. She didn't make it. She was like she didn't make it anywhere close to. But
we have voted for her if she would have made it.
I love her philosophy. Her philosophy comes from the book, I think it's called The Book of Miracles or something like that. But America not ready for that. Yeah. We are not ready for that.
Yeah. I don't think people are high enough for that.
No, not at all. Read the book if you have not read the book. That's all I gotta say.
Is it an Audible book?
Yeah, I'm sure it's Audible. It's one of those.
Oh, really?
Books, so I'm sure it's Audible. Actually, she probably won't appreciate this, but I think you can probably, if not hear chapter by chapter, you can actually hear the book on YouTube.
She's not gonna appreciate that?
Probably not, because she's not getting no money for it. But
okay. Let me see. What are some of the signs or behaviors I should look for within myself to suggest I may need help?
Need help. I would like to rephrase the term need help with I need to grow. And so in that case, because I think everybody needs to grow. I think when we use the term need help, then somebody thinks something wrong with them, all that kind of stuff. I think one sign, I was actually just talking about this on our happy hour last night, if we're talking about relationship wise, If you find that you're continuing to come across the same problem in a different man, right? I don't know why I always get these men with no drive. I don't know why I always get these men that are unfaithful. Like whenever you find that you are constantly running into the same issue with a different face, that I believe is the universe or God's way of saying, I have this lesson for you to learn. And until you learn it, I'm going to keep putting it in your face, right? Because most of us walk away saying, you know, most of us walk away from relationships saying, well, she just was crazy. Or he just cheated and I couldn't, I'm not dealing with that. Right. And we can always walk away putting it on the other person. And so I think there should never be a time that you walk out of a relationship unable to say, like, I could have done this differently. I could have done this better. I could have done less of this. My fear showed up in this way. You know what I mean? So I think as that's one sign, if you continue to run into the same problem over and over again. Another sign, check in with your feelings. Like if you are uneasy about things, if you are noticing that you get timid around a certain, I mean, there's so many signs. You just have to be in tune with yourself.
And I think that's where I was at. Like, what are some signs that because I noticed that I can self-sabotage because I'm quite comfortable. This is so bad to say, but I'm quite comfortable with being by myself. So I tend to self-sabotage in that, like, if you're not happy, you can leave, or if this or that. It's like almost like I expect to be alone. So let me just throw some suggestions out there.
Yeah.
So it's like, but I know that it doesn't have anything to do with the other person. It's almost like I can't run myself away. So let me just be by myself.
Give me that again. I can't run myself away.
I can't run myself away. So I've just become comfortable with being by myself at times. So
you're saying, I don't understand that I can't run myself away. So you're saying,
like, if at the end of the day, if nobody is here, I'm going to be the only one here. So that's what I'm saying by self. I'm comfortable with it just being me.
Or is it, if nobody's here, I can't be hurt?
I don't like to show myself as being hurt. I've gone through a lot in my childhood and adulthood. And I feel like I'm one of those people that I've talked about, let me see, because I asked a question. Hold on, because I was going to ask you another question before that. What are some of the signs I should look for in individuals around me to maybe suggest seeking medical help? They should seek medical help, but I just rephrased it to me. What are some of the signs or behaviors I should look for within myself to suggest I may need professional assistance? It's a lot of things within myself I know I haven't dealt with. So at times when I'm confronted with things that I've tried to hide, or just shovel dirt over that, or throw those nice folded clothes over that, and no one would ever know. So it's like, I know I need help. Like certain times of the year, certain smells can trigger something in me. So I hate those times of years because I've been triggered. People are like, do you like going on dates? I don't like going on dates. I don't. Why? I would, you said why? I would rather just be physically intimate than to fake a situation for it to be potentially a relationship.
There's a lot of fear in all of this.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So that's what I'm saying. Like, what are some of the signs within me that I may need to seek, it's like I already know that
Yeah,
there's a
because you're
lot.
listing them. Yeah, you're listing them. The self-sabotage.
People would say, why don't you like a man to pick you up so that, you know, it's a date. So he picks you up, he takes you to a place, he pays for it. For the longest time, I said, no, if we're going to eat, I'm going to drive myself. I'm going to pay for my own food. And then it just reminded me, because I've been in a situation before where someone was driving me somewhere and then kicked me out of the car because I didn't want to participate in an activity at that time.
Yeah.
So that sense to me, don't ever put yourself in that position. Next time, drive your own car, have your own money, and, you know, that way you won't have to be put in that situation.
Oh, yeah. See, and experiences, you know, are our greatest teacher. So yeah, I get that. I get understanding that, yeah, I'm not on a first date, I'm driving myself there because I've been here. I know what that looks like. Where the problem would become a problem is if you guys are on date number 3, 4, 5, 6, and you're still like, no, not having it, right? Because it sounds, and you know, this is not therapy, you are not my client, but it sounds like control is the mechanism you use as one of the ways to not be hurt.
Right. I'm a control freak.
Yes, you are. I hear it.
But see, I know that. So I don't think that's a thing, because I know I know that it's certain ways that I want to control situations so that I'm not put in that situation. So I'm uncomfortable living with someone, especially with kids, because it's one thing if it's just me and you put me out, but no, it's me and my kids.
But I think it's deeper than that. I think knowing that you're a control freak is amazing. And I think that is step number 1. I think we have this uncanny ability to make our wounds acceptable, right? So if I say, oh no, I know that, I know what's one that's always really acceptable. I know that I go through people's phone, right? But that's because, you know, I've been cheated on before, this, that, when the true reason is much deeper, right? The true reason is because I'm dealing with not feeling like I'm good enough and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to give an acceptable reason so that people are like, oh yeah, okay, I get that. That's cool. And so when I hear that you've been through a lot, when people go through a lot, control becomes their thing, because I've been out of control in my past, in my childhood, and I'll be damned if I'm out of control now.
That's where I'm at.
Right. And so understanding that you're a control freak, amazing. Living in that, not okay. You have to find out the why, the how, and how do I stop it? And people who have control issues, relinquishing control will give them the greatest frustration and anxiety ever.
Absolutely.
Because it means I'm now out of control. Anything can happen. I'm in danger.
Yeah.
And so we have to kind of unlearn that lie, because that is not the case. You are not in danger. You are not out of control. You have to be able to trust yourself enough to know that I'm going to get home.
Right.
You know, whether I drive or not, I'm going to Uber it. But I have to take steps outside of being in control, right? And I'm not saying first date. I'm not saying second date. I'm saying once you allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to go into a 3rd, 4th, 5th date and really trust that situation, not even that person, but trust yourself enough to know that by 5th date, I should feel okay with him taking me to this date. And you know what? I'm going to trust myself enough. I don't have to trust him. I'm going to trust myself enough to know that if this goes wrong, I'm just going to Uber. But I have to take steps to relinquish control at some point, because this lack of control does not belong to him. It belongs to my childhood. It belongs to whatever hurt me in the past that makes me now feel like I need this control. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but it's still scary.
As hell.
I mean, I didn't move out on my own for years because the fear of, if I do this, then I'm going to have to keep this for a year. I'm going to have to trust myself enough that we're going to be okay. That was scary as hell. And one day I just woke up and I said, fuck this shit. Like, I felt like I didn't even owe it to myself. I felt like I owed it to my kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck it. We just going to be in a 1-bedroom and it's just going to be ours. We're not going to have to ask for what's in the refrigerator. Or can I wash clothes right now? Or can I have company? And that felt good. It did feel good. But every day it was scary. Yeah. Every day it was scary.
And you know what you did? You did the perfect thing, because fear paralyzes people. That's why people who are afraid to do X, Y, Z, they'll look 5 years later and they still ain't did shit.
Yes.
Because fear paralyzes people. And fear had you paralyzed until you walked towards it. You were like, you know what? Fuck it. Once you walked towards it, you realized it was just a mirage. There was nothing to be afraid of. I'm good.
Yeah.
And so those are the things you have to do. You have a fear of this thing going wrong and I won't be able to get home. Walk towards it.
Right.
So do the very thing that you're afraid of. I'm going to let you pick me up, not because of you, but because I'm working on me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's scary, but you have to walk towards the thing that is scaring you, because otherwise it has power to keep you still forever.
I did not realize that.
Yeah.
That is so true. I didn't realize that. And then after I got my apartment, I was like, I'm gonna get a car. Like, it was just like 1, 2, 3 things just started happening like that. Again, it was still scary, but the fear was less, paralyzing, because now I can walk and I don't have to walk with pressure.
It's like the Wizard of Oz. Everybody was so scared of the damn wizard because we heard so much horrible, it's this big and the wizard does this and the wizard does that, blah, 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 blah. And then you get there and it's just this puny person. That's all fear is. We catastrophize and we make fear, whatever the fear is, this huge thing until you walk towards it and you're like, oh, all right, not so bad. You know what I mean?
It's still scary.
It's so scary. It's so scary. If everybody could master that, the world would look really different. But because our minds are so strong, and we look at fear and we create this image of fear, it's always going to be a scary thing. But you know that now. So when you know better, you do better.
Yeah. And what also helped me too was being around people that are fearless.
Mm-hmm.
It was totally scary. I'm like, you're not afraid? You're not afraid that you'll lose this or you'll lose that? Like, what happens if you lose your job, or what happens if you lose your car? And it was like, then I'll get another one. And I was scared. It makes you scared for this person, but it also gives you a sense of, well, why can't I walk like that?
Mm-hmm. But
then I also look back on my support system, and sometimes people's support system is so great, it helps them be fearless. But I feel like I can be just as fearless too without having that sense of support system as well.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. It's scary for everybody. Support system, no support system, whatever that thing is that they're scared of, it scares the shit out of them just like it scares the shit out of you. Theirs just may look different. I'm not scared of this, but I'm scared of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So do you stay in your lane, do you, right? And take your baby steps towards fear. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, as long as it's a step, it's a step. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you've done it before. You put that experience where you were afraid to move out and you finally did it. You take that experience with you on this journey against fear. Right. Because now you can look back when fear says you shouldn't do that. You can look back like, oh, I've done it before. It worked out. Right. Take another step. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And you keep that in your backpack with you on the journey.
Right.
Yep.
Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. What are some things or some things you want to leave with our viewers?
Um, well, I need to do some shameless plugging for a second.
Go ahead.
For the viewers out there, we have me and Dr. Jones, Dr. Angela Jones, and myself. We have a virtual happy hour to kind of keep your spirits high during this quarantine time, where we're covering everything from sex, love, relationships, fear, everything. If there's any nuggets that I want to leave with the viewers is, let's be honest, you have a fear. Let's be honest, you have several fears, and it has been the driving force behind you doing and not doing forever. And I want you to take the steps to identify that fear of failure, fear of not being enough, fear of abandonment, fear of being unlovable. Whatever that fear is, face it head on and start walking towards that son of a bitch.
Right.
Watch it move out of your way.
Exactly.
That's it.
So where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at that's Dr. Jasmine Boone. Same as Facebook, Dr. Jasmine Boone. And you can also go to my website, www.justforyoutherapy.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Rachel, one half of TALKinPINk. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on all of our social sites, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TALKinPINk. And everywhere where you get your podcast. So I want to thank Dr. Jasmine Boone for showing up today and talking to me about my fear.
Yes, ma'am.
So, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Thank you, Dr.
Alrighty.
Jasmine.
Thank you. Bye.